Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time Live, Wednesday, September 20th, 2017. We're live here on Blog Talk Radio all over the world. And thank you for joining us wherever you may be listening to us live. If you're also doing so after the fact, joining us here on the podcast version, and you can pick up this podcast immediately following the live broadcast. Go to Apple Podcasts and any of your podcast players and just search for PWR, Pro Wrestling Report, PWR, Prime Time. All of those things will take you to that beautiful orange PWR logo where you can click on, listen to, and subscribe to our broadcasts. Also here on this channel and on our podcast feeds, you can get the retro editions of PWR, where Meathead and Matthew Thomas go back and look at events of the past, including WCW Nitros, WCW pay-per-views. They go back almost 20 years and take a new look at some of those events that have happened. Some good listening, also available for free here on the Pro Wrestling Report. With that being said, folks, it's time now to go to this week's Be The Booker. And we'd like to welcome Al Snow to the program. Al, how the heck are you?
How do you do, guys? Excited to be here as always, and just enraptured listening to your conversation. So.
Are you in that Ken Canigan?
What's that? Sorry, I couldn't hear you.
Sounds like Al's in that Ken Canigan.
I think that the two professionals would be able to do this without talking over each other, but, you know.
Wait, you and I, Al, are professionals. David Hero is not.
Yes. Yeah, thank you very much.
I never said I was a professional. I never said I was a professional. I never
You know, Al, later on, your dear close personal friend, the man who thinks he's a professional as well, and the host of this program, Robbie E., is going to be joining us with Daddy Daycare, and he's actually going to be reading us a nursery rhyme from the book Billy Bunny.
Well, for one, I'm surprised he's going to be able to read. For two, it's good that he's reading it over the podcast, or i.e. the modern day radio, because when he reads, his lips move anyways. So that'll actually be able to help him out.
Right. Later on here on the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time, let's right now get to talking about two big matchups, the two main event matchups coming up this Sunday on No Mercy. It's the Raw branded pay-per-view or WWE Network event from Los Angeles, I believe, actually. And it's two big matches. And WWE has been saying this, and we've said it for weeks here on this program. These are main event caliber matchups, WrestleMania main event caliber matchups. And Al, I want to get your take on, we've talked sort of about the build to these matches over the last few weeks, but I want to get your take on, if you were booking this with your high level of intellect and high level of ability, how would you make these matches go? And then, what do you think's really going to happen? Let's start with Roman Reigns versus John Cena. Nothing at stake here except pride in this matchup.
Well, you know what I find fascinating about both of these matches is timing. You know, and that's what makes them very interesting. Because you're absolutely correct. These are marquee. Both of these are marquee matches for WrestleMania, and have WrestleMania interest in them. Just on paper alone, let alone the excellent build that they've done with both of them, and all the talent involved in both angles, which I still call them angles. That they've done an excellent job all the way around. So the question is the timing. Why now? You know, at a point where really, to be quite honest, September is a slow month in some ways for wrestling and for a lot of different entertainment businesses. September is a tougher month, transitional month. And I don't think that business is so down that, they're trying to use this to bolster it. Therefore, they're using this to build to go a particular direction. So, that being said, the obvious direction is to WrestleMania. And I think the best course of business in both of these matches is to utilize John Cena to elevate and to put over Roman Reigns, and the best use of the talent in the match with Lesnar and with Braun Strowman is the same thing, is to elevate and to put over Braun Strowman. Whether that be, albeit whether he wins the match, in Braun's case, I think Roman Reigns needs to win. In Braun's case, I think that, Braun can leave Brock Lesnar lane without having to win, and thus elevating and keeping the angle alive to build towards starting now to WrestleMania. And then the same goes with Roman Reigns by allowing him to go over John Cena, allowing him to, and maybe turn heel in the process, going over on John Cena. You always need, there's no such thing, this ridiculous concept that there's a tweener. Wrestling is the physical embodiment of storytelling, the art of physical storytelling. And any storytelling that you have, you must have two things. You must have a protagonist and you must have an antagonist. At no point in time did I say there was a third option. Did I say there was such a thing as a tweener? If you read a book,
right,
there's an antagonist, there's a protagonist. If you watch a movie, there's an antagonist, there's a protagonist. If you watch a play, there's an antagonist, there's a protagonist. And in wrestling, it is very much the same thing. Everybody goes, well, Steve Austin was a tweener. No, he was not a tweener. He was a babyface. He was a babyface because he got over in the terms of what wrestling, that term means, meaning to make the audience want to live vicariously through him and identify with him as themselves. He got over. Therefore, he was a babyface.
Now, let me ask you a question here, because I think that deserves a little bit more explanation, because what you're saying now is different from the classic definition a lot of fans have of a heel and a face. You're saying that Austin was a babyface.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
But by definition, he was a heel, wasn't he?
No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't, because he never cheated. Did he rough? Was he a brawler? Was he rough? Was he a fighter? Yeah. He never cheated. He never cheated to win. He never stole a victory. And any time that he did do something that was necessarily a bend of the rules, it was always in retaliation. Much no different than when Roddy Piper was a heel and then he'd turn babyface. He didn't stop being Roddy Piper, and he didn't stop cheating.
Right.
He just would do it in retaliation. And Steve Austin was no different than a Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was a brawler and a bruiser in boxing, and he was a babyface because he got over. The term over is to make an audience want to be you, live vicariously through you, identify with you as someone they would want to be. And Steve Austin did that unquestionably. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. And as a result, he's the protagonist. He's the babyface. The heel is the antagonist, is the person that no one wants to emulate, no one wants to be, that they don't want to see succeed, and they want to see the babyface overcome and defeat the antagonist. And this would be a great launching point if they're going to, and they've kind of teased a little bit, to finally just turn Roman Reigns completely heel. Now, a big swerve, but I think that it would be necessarily bad business at this point, and I don't think that they're going to do that, is to turn John Cena heel against Roman Reigns. I just don't think that there's no money in that at this point. Maybe a while back they could have turned Cena heel, but I think now would be bad business.
Look, let me ask you this, Al. So if they were to change or take Roman Reigns and turn him heel, do they have any risk there? Do you lose that? Because he's a great merchandise seller. He's good with the kids. He's good with the women. Do you risk losing that, or do you keep him where he is?
I don't think you risk, you may risk some of the merchandising and licensing stuff. You're not going to risk the women. They're still going to be attracted to him. But, one of them has to be you can't have, one of them has to be the protagonist or the antagonist. One of them has to be.
Right.
In order for it to truly draw and to generate any actual heat, which, it's in what's funniest to me, or I guess is so apropos about wrestling, and especially today's wrestling environment, is that we're talking about two guys that have probably been, as far as for top guys, the two of the most maligned top guys in the history of the wrestling business by the quote-unquote wrestling fans. You know, and what I mean by that are the internet wrestling fans, who now, the two of them, the most maligned, are now two of the most adored during this angle, because of their performance. And a large part of that goes back to Jerry Jarrett 101. Jerry Jarrett always used to say, the best way to get an angle over is if you want people to believe a little bit of you want them to believe a lie, tell them a little bit of the truth. And that element that they've brought in to their promos of telling just a little bit of the truth harkens back to Hunter and The Rock, who had a true backstage rivalry for many years, and that would come out in their in-ring stuff, which made it all that much more interesting and drove business that much more. And the same can be said for Steve Austin and Mick Foley, and Steve Austin and Vince McMahon, and their rivalry between the two of them, because there was a constant, never-ending battle between the two of them, and a test of wills that came out and was exhibited, and you could feel, was palpable when the two of them were in the ring together on a live show, and
it had a level of believability, which is a key thing as well. Now,
because with Roman Reigns, that you could believe in who they were and what they truly felt for each other, because it was real. They just turned the volume right. That's all.
In respect to Roman Reigns, you've seen does Roman Reigns, if long term, if they were to turn him heel this Sunday at No Mercy, long term, does that or does that not make him one of their greatest baby faces down the road?
Oh, absolutely, yes. The best time, if you're going to turn anyone, is you turn a babyface heel when they're at their hottest, and you turn a heel babyface when they have the most heat. That's always been a rule in the business. You don't waste it. You wait. There's somebody put it up on Twitter, and it exemplifies absolutely just what I'm trying to point out. If you can find it on YouTube, watch Playboy Buddy Rose in Oregon or out in Don Owens territory, and he's on TV. And he has been a heel for, I forget how many, I think it's 15 or 16 years in that territory. And he turns babyface. And the crowd in the TV studio swarmed the ring to put him up on their shoulders. He went from one of the most hated heels for over a decade to just that quick, to the point to where they were so happy to see him turn that they came pouring into the ring to celebrate with him. Watching this clip, we'll try to find that clip on Twitter. I retweeted it. It's amazing to watch. And especially when you understand the context of what occurred in the raw emotion, which is really the beauty and the magic of professional wrestling, is the manipulation of an audience's emotions to that point to where they get so involved that they forget it's just entertainment and they take physical action. And, maybe we could see something like that this Sunday. And again, keep in mind, the key in all of this is the timing of when they are putting on these two matches, not just one of them, but both of them, and both of them on the same card at this point in time. So that means that they plan to use this as a launching point. I can't imagine otherwise. Why would they do it? To build towards from this moment forward to WrestleMania for these 40 men.
Al, with all that being said, and you've seen the promos back and forth with Cena and Reigns, who's the antagonist? They're both
right now,
similar in going after each other.
Yeah, and that what you say doesn't define you. Doesn't make you an antagonist necessarily per se, unless you lie. That's the only time that it makes you an antagonist, makes you a heel, is if you lie. And the best heels always lie. You never tell the truth as a heel. And the more outlandish or the more obvious the lie that you tell, the more heat you'll get, especially the more you believe it. As far as, right now, you're just setting the stage. You're creating the circumstance that in the body of the match, you can take certain actions. Either one of them can take certain actions that can now be the thing that puts heat on them and makes them the heel, the antagonist in the story going forward, the angle going forward.
Fair enough. We did find that clip. We're going to go ahead and send it out on our Twitter page at PWR Show. That was from June 18th, 1983, actually, Al.
Yeah. It's amazing, too, when you watch it. It really is. It's to watch the raw emotion of an audience, get that swept up. And, hey, just so that everybody knows, before you watch this with your cynicism and your, I know everything ideas, please understand, and I want you to watch this as just a wrestling fan, not as I know I'm behind the scenes and know anything, because you're going to ruin it by thinking that, those wrestling fans didn't know that it was real, that it was fake. Mm-hmm. I got news for you. In 1983, I started in 1982. When I wanted to start wrestling, every member of my family said, "Why do you want to do that? It's fake." Now, I love all of my family dearly. Damien, David, I can tell you both. None of them were Mensa candidates. So how are they able to ascertain that wrestling was fake when they had never once stepped foot in a ring and had performed themselves? But they all knew, without a question or a doubt, wrestling was fake. So that was 1982, and this was in 1983. And to believe that those fans did not know that the outcome was predetermined, but yet got so emotionally caught up that they forgot themselves and ran into the ring to celebrate with Buddy Rose it's a testament to how amazingly talented those guys were.
Well, in summary, Al, this Sunday at No Mercy, some good schooling for us
Why
right
do you
now,
two,
actually.
Hold on, wait a minute. Why do the two of you keep talking over each other tonight? What is going on?
No.
Because he's being selfish.
Dave thinks he's the star.
Oh, okay.
Keyword being thinks.
But neither one of you are speaking.
In summary, who wins this Sunday at No Mercy, Roman Reigns or John Cena?
I think Roman Reigns needs to win. I don't think it hurts John Cena to lose. I think that it helps Roman Reigns to win, and I think that, in some manner, some form, some fashion, they need to make him the heel going forward. Even if it's
Braun Strowman or Brock Lesnar?
Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman, because
really?
If Brock Lesnar, if Brock Lesnar defeats Braun Strowman, Braun doesn't have to win, but Braun needs to leave Brock lane if he doesn't win.
Agreed.
And because if Brock defeats Braun, who's Brock face next? What opponent is there on the horizon? So you have to understand, if you everything has to serve a purpose. Everything has to do some kind of business, okay? If Brock is to defeat Braun Strowman, who's clearly a physical, visual challenger to Brock Lesnar, and is able to put Brock Lesnar in some kind of jeopardy, i.e. putting some heat on Braun, to where now the outcome is in question as to who can actually win this match. Because we've talked about this for a week or two or three now. I don't know how long, but we've had the conversation about, well, this match interests me because I don't know who's going to win, and if Brock wins, who's on the horizon? Who is the next guy that we can create that mystique, that interest? Because that's what Heat is. Heat's that interest, that question, that drive that makes you need to see the pay-per-view to watch to see who wins the match. If there's somebody on the horizon that I'm not aware of, yes, Brock Lesnar needs to beat Braun Strowman and go on to this next guy. But if not, then you gotta do what you need to do for Braun Strowman so that you can carry the angle forward. Because again, the timing of these two matches are not by accident. They're to make a significant build towards WrestleMania, I believe.
No, see, and for me, I can see Lesnar winning, but being left laying, because Lesnar is going to then take a couple months off again. He's not going to have the rematch with Braun Strowman on Raw Monday night. So they got to do something to keep Strowman super strong. And the only way that is if he loses to Lesnar, he has to take Lesnar out.
Well, if you want to keep him super strong, then what you have to do is have Braun beat Brock and then lay Brock out and put him on the shelf for a couple of months. And now have Braun go through and destroy people until Brock comes back. That's putting him over strong.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody next.
Yeah, if there's nobody next, then you know that personally for me, if it were me and it was and I had the book, I'd put Braun over very strong. I'd have him beat him decisively. I'd give most of the match to Brock, and then I'd have Braun beat him decisively, and then I'd have Braun lay him out, and put him on the shelf for a month or two, and then have Braun just murdering people until Brock made his way back.
But now, see, for the last 4 or 5 weeks, all Braun Strowman has done has been destroy Brock Lesnar.
And he needed to, because the reason he needed to destroy Brock Lesnar is so that you can make Braun Strowman, meaning make the audience believe that Braun Strowman is a physical threat to Brock Lesnar, because Brock Lesnar is already made so effectively that now anybody he faces, you've got to basically make in the build to it.
Well, I can't argue with any of that, but wanted to, just before we end this segment here, Be the Booker for No Mercy, wanted to get your thoughts on the late, great Bobby the Brain Heenan. I know that you have met him several times, worked with him in the past, but Bobby Heenan, who passed away on Sunday at the age of 73, a legend in this business, of course, is just one of the all-time greatest entertainers in the world. What are your thoughts and your memories of Bobby the Brain Heenan?
Well, I think we bandy about the word legend a little too easily anymore these days. But Bobby Heenan unquestionably really was a true legend in the wrestling business. And what an incredible person, what an incredible guy, and truly an incredible entertainer. A few quick stories, really quickly. Used to, back in the day, just starting out wrestling, 1982. Job guy, make the trip out to Minneapolis for Vern Gagne to, do TV. And I remember, we get to the TV studio. We got to the TV studio and you had to walk up these metal stairs to get up to the second floor. It was like a tape vault or whatever, where they held the tapes and stuff. And that was where we all dressed. And Bobby, cut in front of me. I was the first guy in line. There was 3 guys behind me, and purposely got up on the stairs and went up the stairs just so he could fart the most rancid fart right in all of our faces. and just laughed so hard. You know what I mean? He just thought it was the funniest thing. And then another time when I was working for WWE, and I was doing color commentary in OVW, and I had the, by chance, got lucky to, I was supposed to be interviewer. I was going to interview Bobby Heenan. It was when his book first came out. and he made an appearance there in OVW on OVW TV. And I'm doing an in-ring interview with him. And then Kenny Bolin, who,
the Star Maker.
I mean, Star Maker, Kenny Bolin, very talented guy, very witty. He's sharp. He's on his game, but you can't match Bobby Heenan. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I'm standing in the center between these two guys. Bobby's to my right, Kenny's to my left, and they're going back and forth. And it's a little angle basically to just kind of, put Bobby's book over at the time. And Kenny's talking, and I don't think I'm saying anything out of class. That Kenny's talking, and as he's talking, like every time he speaks, like I can smell his breath. It's terrible. I mean, it's just absolutely horrible. And I can see Bobby smells it too.
Golden Corral.
I have no idea, but it was, I'm not kidding you. It was like, and then Kenny says something, and Bobby just looks at me and he goes, I didn't realize the rodeo was in town, and I knew exactly what he was speaking about. And I could not keep myself together on camera. Bobby started to chuckle because I was laughing so hard and I was in tears trying to hold it together to the point to where Kenny started to laugh too. And we're all trying to hold it together and still conduct this interview. But just the way he delivered it, and it's so deadpan, and the smell of Kenny's breath at the same time he said it, just made me laugh so hard.
It's interesting too, Al. I never thought about that combination. Heenan and Bolin. That's classic right there.
They were going at it, and but you couldn't get over on Bobby. I don't think there's anybody who could ever truly outdo or get over on Bobby. And if anybody's listening, I would highly recommend. If you're a wrestler, I can't recommend enough to you to go find every tape of Bobby Heenan, not just as a manager, but as a wrestler, because he was a wrestler before he was a manager. Go find it when he used to work in Dick the Bruiser, Dick Atlas's territory in Indiana. Go find it when he was working, for Vern as a wrestler. Go pay attention to what he did and why he did it. Go find him as a manager. Listen to how he would speak, what he would say, his cadence. If you're a fan, just go watch him and enjoy, because he was so incredibly, naturally, giftedly talented. And so brilliantly intelligent. You can't do or be or say and be on like he was without being so incredibly smart. He just was so incredibly intelligent. Mm-hmm. So, I would highly recommend if you're a fan. Always on, always, never catch him off. Never once, He's like, you getting on the plane with him, and he's like, oh, he's flying in the back of the plane. Why, Al? And I go, why? He goes, you've never seen a plane back into a mountain. I was like,
Oh,
you know what I mean? Just like it would never stop. So, yeah, he was amazing, and it's a blessing in a way for him, because I know he's suffered so much. For so long. And, but it's such a loss. It's always a loss when somebody passes away, regardless of whether they're a public figure or not. I mean, we as a society, loud the most, the public figures and mourn the loss of these people. But, anytime anyone dies, it's a terrible, tragic loss for everyone. But for a guy like Bobby Heenan, he's a once in a lifetime. I mean, that's and whether he was a public figure or not, he would have been Bobby Heenan no matter what. He'd have been, he was what he was.
Well, Al, thank you for sharing those thoughts on the late, great Bobby the Brain Heenan. And also thank you for the incredible insight into the main events for this Sunday's No Mercy pay-per-view event, featuring Brock Lesnar versus Braun Strowman and John Cena versus Roman Reigns. Be interested to see what happens, and if they do make that Reigns heel turn on Sunday, I, for one, will be very, very intrigued. Al, thank you for joining us, and we'll talk to you again next week here on the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime Live.
Thank you, guys.
And with that, David Hero, we are going to take a time out. In fact, the Heenan love continues. And this was a clip that we actually played last week on the program, but it's so nice we want to do it twice. We talked about our favorite Heenan moments and our favorite primetime moments. And do you remember when they were in the woods, Heenan and Monsoon, looking for Andre the Giant's training facility?
Yes.
That didn't exist. Let's take you to that now, right here on Primetime Live. And when we come back, we are joined by ODB Live. She's going to be giving us an update on what's going on down in Florida. She's got a new business venture coming up soon as well. And also, we'll be taking your live phone calls, ladies and gentlemen. That's 877-317-9772. That's 877-317-9772. You can talk to ODB live next here on the Pro Wrestling Report Primetime Live. But now, a little bit more of Heenan and Monsoon.